So when I look at so many things to do, it reminds me of my daughter. I have a daughter, she's 10 years old, and she throws a tantrum that I'm not going to study these 10 subjects. 2 languages, history, science, I'm not going to do this. And what we do is, me and my wife, we decide that we'll teach her the key parts of each subject, because it's difficult for her, and I also think so, for a 10-year-old kid to get so many things into it. So when I look at you, and when I look at myself, and I look at so many regulations, Companies Act, Service Tax, and there are so many of them which we have not spoken about. And it reminds me of my daughter, and I think we all have the right to throw the tantrums, that it's enough. We can't do this. And you can pick and choose and do what is most critical. So I wanted to start on a good note, that there's lots to do, but there are good things, there are ways to deal with this, and if one prioritizes and one plans it well, and one focuses on the ABC rule which we always learned in costing, that which are the critical areas which I need to focus on, the rest will fall in place. I can tell you the rest will fall in place. So with that, let me start. So what I'm going to do is just try and take 15 minutes and update you on what's happening on the transfer pricing world. And then we'll have our esteemed panel to talk about some of these specific areas. When you look at transfer pricing, the first thing which comes is that over the last 12 years of the transfer pricing regime and 8 rounds of transfer pricing assessments, the total adjustments have been to the tune of 1.6 lakh crores. That's the value. And India is one of the top 10 toughest countries as rated by the International Tax Review, which is a very renowned magazine. But when you look at these 2 things, I think the third one is the solace, that we have more than 700 tribunal and high court rulings, and more tribunal and less act issue, and it doesn't go to the high court because it has to be a question of law. But more than 700 rulings in tribunal, and more than 60 to 70% rulings favoring taxpayers. Majority of them is favoring taxpayers. So out of this 1.6 lakh crore, my gut feel is that not even 5% of this has been collected as taxes by the government. So there's no achievement in this. You could see that the tax authorities could be meeting their targets, but the tax authorities are not actually getting collections, because there are various ways. You go to the tribunal, you get stays. If you go to the competent authority in US or UK, you file bank guarantees and you don't need to pay taxes. And finally, if you have a favorable ruling, you ultimately don't pay taxes. So I think that's a positive note on which we should look at transfer pricing. I'm sure people at the back would not be able to see this, and don't worry, we didn't expect this to be too long. But what I want to do is talk about the changes which have happened in the transfer pricing world. So the bad ones are that you have issues like location savings, you have issues like marketing intangible, you had an issue on LG which came for the manufacturer, and now you have a BMW ruling which is quite favorable, because once LG came, people thought that it's the end of the marketing intangible issue. But you have a BMW ruling which actually provides a clear indication that if you are making more profits than what you should be making, then the bright line issue is not there. You also have the tolerance band, which was 5%. We had the 5% range, which has got reduced. It's now 3%, and for distributors, traders, it's just 1%. You have transfer pricing, which is now applicable to domestic cases, which is basically the 48(2) and the tax holiday. We'll talk about it in the panel, and I'm sure most of you sitting here are interested that how do you deal with the director's remuneration, and we'll talk about that. And when Ketan was talking about the onus on the directors, so the board has to report if the transactions are not at arm's length. The same board has to get its remuneration also benchmarked. Now, I don't know how they will make that statement, so it's a very interesting situation. Look at the good things. One, we have, in terms of transfer pricing, you have a bigger challenge that it's typically cross-border issues. And one of the person who, from a country standpoint, manages this cross-border issues through mutual agreement procedures, etc., is the Competent Authority of India. We had some challenges with the Competent Authority. We have a new Competent Authority, who is a very, very pragmatic person, and I hope that actually will solve some of these issues by two countries sitting together and settling it. We have the Advanced Pricing Agreement, which has been introduced. You have around 146 applications which have been filed, and more than 50 visits by the APA team across the companies. So quite a progress over there. And that's all to bring certainty. You have safe harbors. So for small companies, you have the safe harbors. You can just get certainty. It's a little higher price, but it's a higher price for the premium to get certainty. And I think it's a good price to pay to get that certainty. You also have this SHOAM committee team which has been formed. It's a tax committee which on a regular basis interacts with industry forums. You can't go to them as individuals, but you can go as industry and discuss your industry issues with the SHOAM committee, Mr. SHOAM himself, and try and resolve some of the tax issues. It could be anything, corporate tax and others, and address that. So I think if you look at the positive sides, there are many things happening, and then I spoke about the tribunal rulings, which is majority of the rulings in favor of the taxpayer. All this is there, but it doesn't take away the onus from us to prepare the right documentation. All this will be helpful if we put that little effort in maintaining the right documentation. I think that's the message to take from here. Safe harbor, you have the rules available. I'll talk about the key ones. Basically what it says is that for IT/ITeS companies, which are captive service providers in India, if you are less than 500 crores, then you can get a safe harbor for almost 5 years at cost plus 20. If you're more than that, cost plus 22. If you are a KPO, cost plus 25. If you are a contract R&D service provider, cost plus 30. Software is 30, and contract R&D for pharma is 29. I don't know why they kept that 1% difference, but they did that. These numbers look high, but when you actually go down to compute, let's say if you are a small company of 200 crores, 300 crores compared to the issues which are in transfer pricing, the impact of tax is not that huge, which actually you land up paying in terms of the time of the management. So if you have a transfer pricing adjustment, which actually happens 3 years down the line, 2010, you make your transfer pricing report. 2013, the assessment starts. So 2010 assessments are happening as of now. 2015, they would make some adjustments. You would get your resolution from the CIT appeals or DRP. Assuming the way things are, more likely than not, you could have a bad order from the DRP, and one has to take the solace with the tribunal. So you would go to the tribunal somewhere around 2016 or something like that. So if you look at the number of years for a 2010 case, the amount of time which you spend at each level, and the cost which, the management cost, forget the consultant costs and the lawyer's costs, etc., but the time which the management spends for one particular year for a simple issue that was it supposed to be cost plus 15 or was it supposed to be cost plus 30 is enormous. Compared to that, this is nothing, if you ask me. At the face, it looks high, but when you sit down and do your computation and you sit down the type of certainty it brings to you, I think it's a great thing to happen. And it's not, I'm saying this very positively. I don't know what Ketan is going to tell me when I go outside, because when I push this safe harbor so high, we will reduce our fees, because you won't come to us for the next 5 years, because if you go for safe harbor. But these are provisions to be used, to be taken advantage of. The way, and we are doing a job at the government level to help the government to address some of these issues, that if a company, let's say a BPO, comes for a safe harbor for a cost plus 20, please don't convert them into a KPO. Don't push hard and say that no, I won't give you a safe harbor for BPO, I will call you a KPO and I will give you a safe harbor only for cost plus 25. Don't do that, because for that particular company, even if you raise the bar by 5%, you are not going to get any incremental extraordinary taxes. But you would actually send negative messages outside. So those type of conversations with the tax authorities we are holding to ensure that the safe harbor becomes a successful program. There are things around interest and guarantees, I won't get into it. The message what I wanted to provide was that one should look at it and take the benefit. APA, I spoke about it, 146 applications filed, more than 100 expected to be filed by this 31st March. 50 site visits already happened, and clearly nowhere from the country we are getting any negative messages. It is only positive messages. The conduct of the APA team, the approach of the APA team towards expecting documentation, very, very positive. And the APA director, Mr. Kamlesh Vasni himself, ensures that he gets as many opportunities to talk about the APA, and he goes into various forums to talk about how the APA is working. One of the good things about APA is that even if you have a bad history, APAs will not get impacted by that. That's clearly written in the FAQ, the APA FAQs which have been given up. APA authority will look at the history just to figure out are there any issues they are missing. Otherwise, they want to look at it very, very on a clean slate. So I think that's a positive, and that's clearly written down in the FAQ of the APAs. So quite a positive program. Again, APAs are not for everyone. APAs are for complex transactions, for simple transactions with larger challenges. So you will have a company with, let's say, 5,000 crores, but turnover, for example, and it is a cost plus company. APA is the thing for it. Because for a 5,000 crore company, you may not go for a cost plus 20 or a cost plus 25, because there even 1% makes a huge difference. So in terms of large and complex transactions, APA is the way to go, and in terms of small transactions, safe harbor is a better way to go. APAs, out of this 146, there are 29 APAs which are bilateral, which means more than 2 countries get involved. The rest of them are, 117 of them are all unilateral APAs. And unilateral APAs are seen to be moving very, very fast, because it's the taxpayer and the Indian government. They can close it faster. If it's a bilateral APA, then obviously the other country would get involved, and that's something which one needs to take care of. This is a new animal, BEPS. How many of you have heard of BEPS? How many of you have heard of BEPS? Anyone? Okay. BEPS is an initiative by the G20. So the G20 countries came together and pushed OECD to focus on this particular area. BEPS stands for base erosion and profit shifting. So most of the countries are feeling that because of domestic provisions of a particular company, there could be double non-taxation. tax treaties were made for economic development of countries. Tax treaties were made to avoid double taxation. But they have found situations that because of certain provisions in a particular country, or by a taxpayer using the provisions in a particular way, you could actually end up into double non-taxation. On transfer pricing, you could have profits shifting from one country to the other country just because of a function analysis. You would think that this is my character and accordingly I should be compared with this, and accordingly that is the margin I will keep in my country. Automatically the balance margin goes to the other country. They feel that this is happening in a big way. Profits are moving to countries which are low tax rate. However, the substance for the origination of those profits are sitting in some other country. And that's precise reason you had the contract R&D circular, which said that which is this contract R&D that should fit under a cost plus methodology, because everything cannot be cost plus. So if you are playing a significant role in the value chain, then you should get a share of profit rather than just a cost plus. So these are the challenges around every country, not just India. But G20 took this initiative and put OECD to work on this. So if you go to the OECD website, you will get lots of documents on this, which talks about the paper on base erosion and profit shifting. There are 15 actions which are identified in tax, in transfer pricing, on PEs, on thin capitalization, on various, anything around tax which you can think of. And for all these 15 areas, there is a clear deadline which has been agreed by the OECD to present a final paper, which could be anytime around end of September, end of 2014 and beginning of 2015. This is going to change our lives. So one is that you will have the GAR and the SAR in respective countries, but this particular program of OECD will change the way the tax world works. And I would personally encourage that you read these documents to understand what it could impact. Clearly, a good point there is that whenever, and one of the things which OECD has started doing is that whenever it gets into a program, it brings the industry together. It allows the industry to have a say. Here what has happened is that a lot of efforts have been put in by the tax authorities, by the governments of the country, because they are losing out taxes, and fiscal deficit and current account deficit is a problem for all countries. So because of that, the government and the tax authorities jointly have taken this initiative. But the good part is that the OECD, being a neutral non-profit organization, will never finalize documents till it gives industry to speak on it, which has been happening over the years. Any document of OECD comes, it goes out in the public, they hold it for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months for getting public views, and then it is finalized. I think at some point in time, we all will need to get together and provide our business perspectives on whatever changes are going to come our way. So this I thought was a critical one which I wanted to share with you.